Yes, legends, how is everybody doing? Let's analyze the situation here for the price of Bitcoin. Let's go, legends. How is everyone? Make sure to absolutely destroy that like button on your way in if you do enjoy the content. Let's go, smash it up. Let's get to a new all-time high, which should be about, I don't know, 2,000 likes. Let's go, legends. Let's go through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything's good, and we'll analyze the situation, okay? Because we are still ranging, you know, you got a lot of people that are quite bearish, and I do understand, all right, when you do zoom out on Bitcoin, you know, this is it, right? Kind of a double top situation. You know, a lot of people are expecting a breakdown below $100,000, which, you know, I'm not going to deny, it is definitely possible. But the bullish case scenario of continuing this range without a successful breakdown below 100K, first hit all-time high after finishing this range, still seems more likely. And we'll go in detail, okay? Now, of course, if you're trading based on emotions, right, this is great for scalping, okay? I have to say, day trading and scalping inside of this range, right? You try and short the highs of the range and long the lows of the range. You can either trade based on emotions with all this Israel-Iran situation as well. If things escalate, you know, markets could really take a dump, right? The NASDAQ, and eventually that could drag Bitcoin. But it's still looking very good. We are still inside of the range. All of this movement that we've had inside of this zone throughout the last few weeks still looks incredibly corrective. And we are going to be explaining in detail, guys, a few things. You know, I'm in a bunch of longs throughout these lows. I can explain those lows, guys. You know, those long positions, they're relatively quite simple, purely based on the drops. Still corrective. You know, I'm leaning on, you know, we're not going to break down successfully from this zone. Eventually, yeah, I want to see all-time highs, all right? And I think all-time highs maybe could trigger that double top scenario. There is an ABC, but most of the scenarios point out that, you know, getting to all-time highs or very close to all-time highs is very, very likely before heading below 100K. So when I say we go to all-time high potentially, or getting close to all-time high, it doesn't mean blast through and we go to 130K. There are most of the scenarios that are telling me that we could claim all-time high and come down, or if we continue this range, yeah, we could blast off through all-time high, okay? I want to explain in detail most of the scenarios, and also the bearish case scenario, which has very low probability, okay? Has very, very low probability, guys. It is relatively simple to understand. Of course, you cannot be overly massively bullish and deny the bearish case scenario, right? As a trader, you cannot just only be, I'm only bullish, we're not going to drop below $100,000. No. You know, you can't have that mentality eventually, right? I can lean more bullish. I can lean more, you know, I think we could get to above 110K and even maybe hit all-time highs. I prefer that scenario based on the analysis, but I cannot deny, you know, it might drop, right? Why not? You know, it could drop, and I need to take those scenarios into consideration. And I want to explain in detail why they just have low probability in happening, right? Even though low probability doesn't mean impossible, so it could happen still, right? Let's go in detail through a few scenarios today, guys. I haven't done a live stream for over 4 days, so I hope that you do enjoy. And, you know, I'm going to explain, you know, a bit of Elliott wave theory throughout this range, because right now that's what we need to have. A little bit of Elliott wave theory in this zone just to understand the different projections that could happen, right? Because when you're ranging, it looks toppy. You know, people are going to say, well, Iran and Israel, you know, getting into, you know, I want to try and speak in code here, but basically, you know, there are some problems, right, going on with Iran and Israel. And the price looks very toppy. We did not break above the previous all-time high successfully. You know, this is just ready to absolutely get a significant drop to the downside, right? When you take a look at the charts like this, it does look like it, right? If you have a basic knowledge, right, and you just go with the fear that there is around social media, and also with, you know, just basic analysis, you would say, you know, this does look very toppy and it's going to break down, right? Why would you be bullish if you did not break out successfully the previous all-time high and it's just getting very choppy, right? You know, you would have that, mainly that general sentiment. So I do get there is quite a lot of people quite bearish, okay? There is quite a lot of people bearish. I did put this on the poll today. Yeah, well, it's a bit of a 50-50, I have to say. Most of my polls are 50-50, but I can see bearish, we go sub 100K, 53%. There's a slight percentage more bearish. Okay, so let's go in detail a few of the scenarios in this live stream. I'm going to go through the comment section. My goodness, my previous video a few days ago got, wow, so many bearish comments, like, you know, 90K is inevitable, you're going to get wrecked. first of all, I'm not going to get wrecked, right? I've taken profits on the long positions, and the Friday long that I got into the dip, I did take some profits. The position is protected. Also, the long here that was from over 2 weeks ago now almost. Also got into a tiny hedge short position just because of the sake of it, but I do expect to get stopped out from this short. The position is protected. I might get wrecked on the short actually. But this is a smaller position from the long position, that was taken on a swing failure pattern. And then another long position, a new fresh one from this drop of Friday, which profits have been taken yesterday. And this has, I've been telling this to the community on Telegram. I entered a long position on Friday, and, just yesterday I was saying, I'm going to take some profits from that long that was taken of the drop. And I'm going to explain, okay? This is in the Telegram, guys. If you are interested in the Telegram, you do have the first link down below in the description. Join the Telegram community, okay? Just saying where I'm getting more into a bit swing trading. So the trades are 3, 4, 5 days, just looking for a little bit of a larger swings of $3,000-$4,000 on Bitcoin. I'm stepping away from scalping and getting more into chilled positions, right? Just, I'm holding this position on the long that most of the profits have been taken, right? I'm leaving just a little bit open to see if we do get to all-time high, a little bit of a head short position. But ultimately, profits have been taken from that long, right? So getting more into, chilled trading setups, right? You don't want to be stuck on the charts, every single minute of the day, just chilled positions that are going to take a longer period of time, right? It's just I don't need to scalp and day trade anymore. So I'm just really, this is why I sold some Bitcoin throughout the last couple of months, been selling some Bitcoin at this 100K zone, just to have more capital and just to be more chilled on the trading setups. Anyway, let's go right away through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. And let's go right away in detail here. We are getting a little bit of a dip from yesterday's pump. All right, we are grinding down to the downside. Everything looks extremely corrective. But not only the movements down look corrective, the movements up look corrective as well, right? It's packed with 3-wave structures everywhere. And this is why we come to the conclusion, of having many different corrective scenarios, right? Stay tuned with me, you guys, because everything will make sense, right? We did reject yesterday night from the 108K zone. We struggled with this bounce, okay? It did, there was a chance of this being a 3-waver. But this is, also this was basically mentioned on yesterday's video, right? With that pump, I do expect a rejection here from the 108K, 109K. A triangle is definitely a scenario. A ABC flat, get the pump, correction, dump down, and another leg up is also a scenario that I'm going to go in detail. But, I got some very, very salty comments today. Also, what do you think about the dump now, right? I told you from the 108K zone from yesterday. And, in the video updates, we're like, we were very rangy. We're inside of the range. We might not get a breakout from this range in the next coming days. And we'll just continue the range, right? So, a correction from the 108K, 109K zone here to potentially form this triangle was, one of the expected scenarios. So, I'm not surprised of getting this drop. This is why I got some profits from the long position on Friday. I was saying to the community yesterday night at 108K zone, guys, I'm not too confident on this short position. I'm going to take profits from the Friday's pump, right? The drop that we had on Friday, it's very much aware of getting some kind of a recovery here of a few $1,000s. And yesterday with the pump coming to this resistance, understanding this scenario, I want to take profits because I know we can reject from this point, right? I know we can reject from the 108, 109K zone, especially forming a 3-wave structure to the upside, right? So if I'm in a long from Friday, if I don't take profit here, it's going to be foolish, right? I need to collect some of the profits from the long positions that I remain in, right? So anyway, yeah, it's pretty interesting, these comment section, guys. I don't know where these guys come from, but, very, very salty comments on the previous video, guys. I'm just, sharing my opinion. You're going to get wrecked. And, 90K is guaranteed. I do think 90K is a possibility, but definitely not in the next coming days. So we want to really look for, you know, the different possibilities and movements. You know, hey, maybe if you watch this, you understood that yesterday the 108K, 109K zone could have been, you know, a resistance, and we do reject from that point a few $1,000s. Maybe you got into the short because of this, right? So anyway, let's go right away through the comment section, and then we'll go in detail, guys, through the structures, right? Understanding this movement down, understanding the movement up, understanding this latest move down, and what can we map based on the probabilities, right? We can talk about support, resistance levels. We can talk about the bearish case scenario, you know, leg down, leg up, A, B, and now we get the C wave down or a double zigzag, even though it has a low probability. It could still definitely happen, okay? So we need to take it into consideration, right? But it is true that I am leaning a little bit more bullish in this zone to see more this than actually this and successfully move to the downside, right? Inside of this range, I do see these lower highs, 110.7, being claimed at some point, right? So yeah, we'll go in detail through the local setups as well, right? I do think that we could be finding some interesting support now in this area. So we'll go zoom in through the lower time frame, but first of all, I want to explain a little bit of what is going on here in this range throughout the last few weeks, so you can have a better understanding of really what is going on, right? Regardless if the bearish case scenario plays out or not, right? Which we'll have to cover anyway also on this video update. So let's go right away, say hello to the beautiful community. Hope you're doing well, guys. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I went to a very good friend's wedding on the weekend and lost my voice a little bit. But we'll go in detail through the analysis, okay? Let's see if we can get some likes kicking in here. Not too many people. Price action is boring. People are tired of Bitcoin and crypto. We are here to look at the different scenarios, guys. I would really appreciate you smash up the like button to get to at least 100. My goodness, people are just tired of the content. You know, we talk about the different scenarios that could play out, right? Levels of resistance, support. You trade them as you wish. Let's go through the comment section and say hello to the beautiful community, see what's going on. I might get some salty comments here, maybe some haters here through the comment section. Good evening, Sarah. How are you doing? Eric, hello, my man. Simon Jones, yo, Simon, how are you? Take 2 seconds and give the man a like. Much appreciated, my man. ALKS, hello, legend. J Jack, hey, Andy, legend. The master is back. We missed you. Smash up the like button. Thank you very much, brother. Best TA. Yeah, I do try, right? We do try and be, you know, quite down to earth with the scenarios. You know, never extremely bearish or extremely bullish, even though I'm leaning a little bit more bullish in this consolidation. Okay, slightly more bullish, realizing that there's higher probability and moving up, right, to all-time high or close to all-time high soon. I don't trust 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗽 long after all night bleed. I've watched and been in his Discord for 5 years. I know what he misses. My man. Yeah, I mean, bro, 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗽 is always long. He never actually makes money. I'm not sure you're talking about crypto 𝗖𝗿𝘍𝗽 is long now. Yeah. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, a lot of these people, right, are always long, always looking for longs, never shorts. I'm actually a person that likes to short a lot. But I've only been long in this range, okay? I've only mainly been long in this range. You know, Bitcoin's getting a bit of a drop right now. NASDAQ is still pretty much steady. We could be entering a very, very interesting area here, legends. Okay, very, very interesting area at the moment throughout this drop, which I think we can get supported from, okay? I think we can get supported here. I don't see a successful massive drop from this zone. Okay, we'll explain in detail on the lower time frame, but we chill. We look at the price action. We are really moving down right now throughout the last few hours. You know, we want to see a little bit of proof of support, but I do think a bounce is very, very much possible in this zone. We might sweep up the higher lows of the weekend. That is something that could happen. Higher lows of the weekend could be swept or they could be front run. That is also a scenario. Anyway, I want to go through the higher time frame after finishing here the comment section, okay? But yeah, I really like to, I enjoy shorting Bitcoin, okay? I do enjoy shorting Bitcoin a lot. I was in a short position in this pivot high. I missed out shorting here. I did manage to short this one just a few weeks ago. This was my main short that I actually managed to profit quite well. I missed a very, very good short position here and got into this bounce swing failure pattern. So this was a nice rally throughout, you know, the last 2 weeks, right? From the 6th of June, you know, managed to jump into that rally. This is the main trade that I managed to profit from, which is this one right over here. This was just 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago. As is the main long position, it was basically a swing failure pattern. And it was understanding that, you know, understanding that this looks corrective. The movement down that we had here that was explained on that stream, you know, I don't see a successful breakdown from this zone. We could sweep up the highs, yes, but I don't see the price dropping down. So this is the moment you need to look at the previous range and say, you need to be aggressive to jump into this long swing failure pattern from one of these pivots. And it actually collapsed down to the exact low of this, you know, multi-week range here. Well, it's actually 1 week or so. So, you know, I understand that dropping down aggressively has low probability. And if we were to get the drop, I want a long, right? If we do swing failure pattern, you know, I entered a little bit late. It doesn't matter. You know, this was the main long position that obviously, you know, got a significant rally of almost $10,000 in a matter of a few days. So that was the main long. Short position, missed out on shorting this range, okay? I haven't been shorting that much. The only successful short was 2 weeks ago, which was right from this zone. So yeah, but I'm getting more into chilled movements, guys. You know, you can see, right? I'm looking at these swings, right? So, you know, getting away a little bit from scalping and day trading just because, you know, I just don't need to do it anymore, guys. It's been too many years. I just want to get into more chilled, you know, swing setups. You know, long on a Friday, perfect. You know, take profits on this rally of $5,000. Very much understanding the rally here as well. I can explain this long setup, guys. You know, it's not overall too complicated. You know, this movement down still looks very corrective. And I will explain. Position is protected. I've taken significant profits, you know, over 50% on this. A few thousand, you know, that's great for the weekend. But, you know, overall missed. Well, I got into a small little head short here. Just understanding, you know, the possible bearish case scenario. In the Legends trading community on Discord, you know, the coaches such as Devil and Aiden were looking for a short slightly higher here. Okay, 3-wave corrective structure and then the movement down. You know, I got into a little bit of a head short just to protect. You know, it wasn't mainly a good setup. It's just to protect the long positions so I can benefit if the price does move down here. Anyway. Just a little bit of the map situation, guys, of you know, the trades that I've taken throughout this range, which are not many, guys, I have to say. It might be about 5 or 6. You know, just getting into these chilled, you know, swing trades that might last, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you know, depending on the levels. But we're going to go in detail a little bit here on what do I see here, right? What do I see? Blank chart, guys. We ain't having those moving averages and you know, RSI indicators and stuff like that. We look at pure price action, Elliott wave theory, and understanding if there is a leading move either to the downside or to the upside, considering the range with a little bit of confluence that we have, you know, as support and resistance. You know, right now we are coming to a point of control of this range right over here, you know, without counting this range here. There is a high volume node which is kind of struggling. You know, we could get a little bit of a reaction. We are attempting to break down here. If we do get the entire range, there's a big block of volume, right? There is a big block of volume here. The highest point of control is sitting at $104,000, which is below the weekend lows. It can be a very good, interesting level. I would be quite interested in re-entering another long. I missed the short properly. Right, I got into a little head short, guys, but that is insignificant. It's just It's just for protection, really, from the longs, just in case it collapses. I do think I'm going to get stopped out from this short, just because it's a crappy entry as well. But overall, it's a smaller position from the long. But it's just a little hedge. This is a good, interesting long zone, okay? I think this could be a very interesting long scenario. However, you know, just realize that the price does move in 3-wave moves or 5 waves, okay? That's how the price action moves. Let's get this out of the way. And eventually, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was very much aware of this scenario, guys. This is why I shorted here. I didn't short here. I shorted here with a little bit of weakness, got into the bounce, 3-wave structure. You know, I managed to profit from this move down. But, you know, this is what we're looking at for the scenarios. We're looking at 3-wave movements. This is why Friday, a bit of an aggressive, you know, catch the drop. I entered the long on the bounce, just realizing this structure. This looks corrective. I was pretty confident that this was not going to be an impulse, and I can explain that in detail. Same as this. I was confident in catching here the swing failure pattern and also catching the bounce in this zone, the part that we were getting above the point of control, which was already a good sign. Just because this movement down did not look impulsive, even though it looks like it, but it all has to do with the start of the structure. The start of the structure, 3-waver. This is counted better as a 3-waver. This is not a 5-wave move to the downside. It is not. From this high, you got a movement down, the bounce, then this movement down, the bounce, you already got overlap here. So this is not a wave 3, this is not a wave 4 for this to be an expanded 5th wave. No. It's not an impulse, you know, no matter how aggressive this movement is based on the, you know, conflict that we do have with Iran and Israel. I was like, you know, you ain't going to bullshit me. You know, this is going to get a pretty decent bounce. You know, this drop is not an impulse, purely based on what happened here, right? So as on Friday, we were starting getting that news on the conflict and everything. You know, I just instantly said to the legends on the Telegram, guys, you know, I am longing this Bitcoin drop on Friday, the 13th of June. I'm longing, right? Just understanding that we moved down in a 3-wave move here. This bounce overlapped this pivot. That is the moment that you realize this ain't a wave 4. This is a 3-wave structure. And if you do get this bounce in a 3-wave structure and then drop, okay, you expect, I expect this to be a double zigzag. A little bit aggressive of a double zigzag, okay, in a WXY. In a WXY double zigzag, you get the zigzag, you get a little bounce, and then you get another zigzag down. You know, I was very, very much, you know, quite confident that this has the highest probability, obviously with the point of control, that we should be getting a pretty significant bounce, right? And the key thing here, really, the key thing here to long these aggressive moves down, coming into a point of control or swing failure pattern, is understanding how did we get down here, right? From the bounce, from the highs of the drop, how did we develop this price action to get down here? That is that is the absolute key here to understand that we are going to get a bounce, right? And obviously you want a bit of guidance, right? You need some levels as a guidance, you know, a swing failure pattern from here, swing failure pattern from here. You need the point of control of the entire range to maintain structure. You're getting a bit of a reaction, understand this analysis, and you know, you got a proof of support here. And this is the main reason. Nice little bounce of, you know, $5,000, which you can, you know, take advantage of. So it's all understanding the beginning of the structure, guys, and it's absolute key. It is absolutely key. And this is, I don't see this either as a very aggressive, impulsive move down. We can go in detail through this, and this is why I think that this zone could get a significant bounce. Claiming the lows would be the key here, right? That would be the best long to get an SFP from the higher lows of the weekend. That would be the best scenario for a scalp long, day trade long, right? There is a chance of moving higher, okay? But there is also a chance of getting the bounce and dropping back down, okay? So I would consider this as a scalp long position, sweeping up the lows of the weekend. There is, you can take, regardless if it continues higher or drops down after the bounce, there is a long setup here. There is a long setup. You can take it as a scalp movement of $1,000, protect, leave some open just in case the price does rally, because there is a chance of the price rallying, but there is also a chance of the price moving down to claim the lows here. Which I want to explain in detail if I can. But just going through the education about this movement here, guys. Okay, it is key. It is absolutely key, at least for me anyway, to understand this movement down was counted better as a 3-wave move down. Okay, this right over here, you had a bit of a 3-waver. Some exchanges did claim that high, and then you have this movement down here. If you are thinking in Elliott wave, leading moves to the downside, impulsive moves or corrective structures, you need to understand from a high to the next low, you want to move impulsively in a pretty clear 5-wave structure down, which in this case we did not have, right? And all of this explanations comes to the key long position that I took here, which profits have been taken, position is protected from that Friday pump. But when you understand this structure, you're like, okay, if we move down here pretty aggressively, right, very, very choppy, you want to label this as your wave 3. And what changed the map here, right, even though, yes, we moved in a 3-wave structure, we overlapped, we still got the massive drop. It was just a, support resistance flip here. Yeah, you could have taken the short. We did move up in a very 3-wave structure here. I actually got into a long position here. Did manage to scratch some profits. I did say to the community, I'm out of this long position at 108k. Yeah, this was a long position also provided on Thursday. And you might think, why didn't you get into the short? Well, it did look very 3-wavy. We did move up in a 3-wave structure in this zone. And then here's where the key thing happens based on the long position here. I didn't take advantage of the drop, but I did take advantage of the pump. This is the key scenario right now. You got a zigzag move up down. You move up in a zigzag overlapping this pivot. So that's not a wave 4 already. So what you think of is another zigzag down, which did happen. When you zoom in on the lower time frames here, what's really interesting about this? And the price is dropping right now, guys. We are dropping down. I think a possible sweep of the lows of the weekend, the higher lows of the weekend could be a scenario. Right now, we are very close to that zone. This could be the SFP zone, okay? This could be the scalp setup of the day on the stream. You might get that sweep of the higher lows right there and then get the bounce. Okay, so we need to be ready. I'm going to set some alerts because I want to explain a little bit of the chart here. Let's set some alerts here, just slightly above the low, because that would be a very interesting scalp. Right now, as we're rolling and we're rolling and we're rolling, yeah, I don't want to short here. And I don't want to jump into the long just yet. I mean, preferably we do get an SFP, easy to manage. Stop loss beneath the low, get that bounce. Just going to remain a little bit patient here, guys. So, yeah, anyway, let's, yeah, I was zooming into this structure. And this is what looks very interesting. This movement down that we had on Thursday, you got a 3-wave move up, and then you have the drop, consolidation, and another drop. labeled much better as a three-wave structure. When I did take a look at on Friday morning and actually logged on my phone, I was taking a flight on Friday morning. When we got this three-wave structure, when I understand that the price has moved down in a three-wave structure and we got this correction and we overlapped this pivot and we moved down in a three-wave structure like this, I'm instantly thinking about a double zigzag and not an impulse. Instantly thinking about this because of this movement down and the overlap that we had from this pivot and this pivot, which would be your 1 and 4. So I understand, I already woke up in the morning with an epic drop. We were consolidating at this zone, and I analyzed the structure before heading to the airport. And I thought, this is very likely going to bounce. It's very, very likely going to bounce pretty nicely in the next coming days throughout the weekend and Monday. And the key thing here was this, guys, just to explain this scenario, this move up on Thursday was the key scenario for me to long here, to long this area. I was not seeing this as an impulse. I was looking at this as a double zigzag. And, we were finding support at the point of control. And I thought, we have a high chance in bouncing up here, to 108, 109K zone. This was my target zone, which was very much, I did let the community know on the Telegram, the people that want to know where I'm entering the trades and when I enter and when I exit. This was a very, I was looking for some kind of a three-wave move to the upside. And also on yesterday's video update, considering we might be ranging here, legends, throughout the next coming days, the level to pull back from is 108 to 109K. You might get that fake out from the valley area high and then roll back down. And we might be forming this triangle, which eventually is bullish for the next coming days. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. Pretty interesting to see how the bearishness that there is. Also with the conflict, people are very emotionally attached to what's happening in the Middle East. I do get it. Obviously it is a big deal. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, and of course it can affect the markets without a doubt. We also got that tweet from Donald Trump. Apparently this drop that we had was a Donald Trump tweet, right, based on the conflict, right? But this was a zone to reject anyway, regardless. This was a zone to reject based on a possible triangle formation in this zone, right? With the tweet or without a tweet, this was a zone to reject based on some of the several scenarios on how the price could develop, right? So yeah, regardless of the tweet or people forget about what's happening around the world, guys. When you're trading, right, and you're looking at the levels, you just need to manage risk. Yeah, of course it is bad news. It could affect the market, but charts are the charts, guys, right? So if I take a look at the charts and I say, we could be rejecting from this zone, right? Attempt to break valley area high, get above 108K and reject. Okay, to form, just to continue the range. I don't know if Donald Trump was going to post a tweet on him saying, the people from the capital of Iran need to evacuate, right, or something like that. No, I'm not sure the tweet is something like that. But we understand on the charts that it is a level of resistance and we could reject, and several patterns that can develop, right? I don't know which one exactly is going to develop, guys, okay? But we can know the levels where we could bounce, right? And where we can reject. So, yeah, let's go right away through the different scenarios. Now, yes, guys, sorry, I just wanted to give a little bit of the education and the reason of getting into this long, right? Because you might think you try to catch a falling knife. That is so dangerous. You try to catch a falling knife. That was luck. This long position here was luck, and this one here also was luck. Right? Both of those longs. This one right over here from 2 weeks ago and the one from Friday. It's pure luck. You try to catch a falling knife. I want to give you the explanation, right? A lot of people trade like that. It's going to dump, it's going to pump. I'm just going to long, I'm just going to add to position. I do the technical analysis and I look at the highest probability scenario to jump into the trade. And as mentioned, this is the exact explanation on the reason. 3-wave move down, this bounce overlapping. Yeah, this ain't an impulse. You know, we move down in a 3-waver. That's it. I'm looking for this to possibly be the end of a WXY 3-wave structure. That's the main reason of the long anyway, legends. Okay. And obviously this WXY double zigzag is really overextended with that massive fearful drop that we had on Friday because of the escalation, right? Escalation of the Middle East. Couldn't give a damn, you know. Forget about the noise. This is a corrective move to the downside and a bounce is highly likely. This same move down is also corrective, guys. This same move down is corrective, you know, and I am looking at this zone to possibly get a, you know, significant bounce. Just because I mean, it's packed of corrective structures in this zone. That's why you know, when we analyze the higher time frame, we are in a complex, large corrective zone. And when you are in a complex, large corrective move, coming from an uptrend, you always need to lean on there is a higher chance to get to all-time highs than actually breaking down. Okay, so it's just like that, right? Regardless of the, I can't say this is 100% sure. You can never say that, right? I can say, you know, the highest probability scenario is actually getting up to all-time high after this sideways complex correction is finished. Now we can go in detail on a few scenarios that could happen. We need to take into consideration the bearish one, always, but let's go through the bearish one first of all. Okay, we'll go through the bearish one, which we need to understand the movement down from all-time high. You need to understand this movement to see, you know, to know what is the highest probability, right? Understand the movement down, right? With the volume, the waves inside them, right? Are they looking impulsive? Is it a leading move to the downside, right? I was bearish, guys, when we had this movement down, and I was really looking at the price to really form a, you know, at least a 3-wave structure to the downside. This is why there was, you know, I shorted here. I missed this double top. I was very much aware of a zigzaggy move here, and then the movement down. You know, this was explained on the analysis here on the 26th, 27th. You know, I am quite bearish here, guys, just because this was it was looking like a leading move. So yeah, you know, I am bearish and bullish throughout the range. But understanding this larger range, I have to lean more bullish. More bullish. That all-time high is just a matter of time. So yeah, I was bearish here because this was a leading move down. You know, I was very much expecting a kind of a 3-wave structure down. Did we get this next leg down as a present? Then phenomenal. So yeah, bear with me here, legends, because we are going to go in detail. Just so you understand, anybody that is interested, if you want to go and watch another hype channel that is just looking at liquidation, heat map, and you know, this is a very, very complex range. It is a complex range to explain what's going on. So bear with me here, legends, and we'll go through the comment section right away to say hello to the beautiful community as we get the people joining in. I mean, not much people joining in. People are actually leaving the stream. Guys, will alts ever pump again? I have to say yes. Andy, do you think we are heading to 92k in a few weeks? I think mid 90k levels is a possibility. It really all depends on the next movements in the next coming days. Whatever happens here, okay, it will be relatively easy to understand. Okay, there is an epic short. There is an epic long. We're going to keep this more as a swing trading scenario, guys. Okay, we're looking at a movement of several $1,000s, right? We're going to go through the scalping and day trading. This is an interesting area to long. It might get a little bounce. I'm aware of claiming the lows again. But yeah, I'm going to explaining a little bit more of a swing trade perspective, guys, for what could happen in the next coming days. And depending on the next movements, we will have something very, very clear. Let's go through the bearish case scenario first of all, right? Let me get the alerts out of the way. We don't need this. I need this just when I'm not in front of the computer, but I am right now, so no needs of the alerts. Let's go through the bearish case scenario, guys, right? We're still inside of the range. We're just bouncing off support, resistance, value area high, fake out, point of control. There are some more internal levels, but we ain't going to go too complicated on the scenarios. But we are still in the range, right? A lot of people with the fake out of the head and shoulder. It's bearish. A lot of people bullish throughout this pump, ended up in a three-wave move. Then a pretty significant drop on Friday, last Friday. Very choppy, very rangy. Which, you know, people get very confused here, right? The bears are going to stick bearish. The bulls are going to stick bullish. We are here just to explain the different scenarios. So first of all, let's understand the movement to the downside. Right? This 5-wave move to the downside. Because I did get some comments. Bro, didn't you see that 5-wave move down? Can't you see a 5-wave move to the downside? Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. Right, where is it? Man, can't you count 5-wave structure in the last drop? I mean, and this was explained in the video, but it seems like people just fast forward the videos, which I understand. They might get boring, right? I do see a 5-wave move down. You know, the main problem number one here is the overlap from your wave 1 and wave 2. If you're looking at this as an impulsive move down, right? That's the main problem. It's the main problem that if this happens, this movement down, you know, it ain't going to go too far away without getting an epic bounce. That's the main reason of the swing failure pattern of this order block, if you wish, right? Or the lows. That's the main reason of that long position from $101,000, $102,000. The main reason, understanding this movement. I'm ready for longs if we swing failure pattern. So this is the main reason, guys. I think a lot of people don't take this into consideration. This right now is not an impulse. It is not an impulsive 5-wave structure. So then you need to come to corrective type of structures inside of this zone. The bearish case scenario would be an expanding move, because you can have overlap from your wave 4 and 1, and you can form either a contracting diagonal or you can form an expanding diagonal. You know, that is, you know, those are the two scenarios that could happen. However, in this case, it would be an expanding diagonal. And I have a bit of an issue here. This movement to the downside is a 3-wave move on the 5th wave. You can have expanding diagonals that are developed with 3-wave structures every single wave. So far, all of the waves did look quite good in 3 waves. You know, you can count kind of, you know, this was a very complex one here in your wave 4. But the problem was your wave 1 that looks impulsive. There is a very good valid 5-wave count on this movement down on your wave 1. And all of the waves need to be 3 wavers if it is a 3-wave expanding diagonal, which was not the case looking at this wave. That's another problem. This one looks very 5-wavy out of all of the waves. Another problem is your wave 5 needs to be longer than your wave 3. When you have an expanding diagonal, your wave 5, right, gets that expansion. Needs to be longer than your wave 3. You know, that's another issue here. Your wave 5 is smaller than your wave 3. So, you know, you just have a lot of red flags to count this as a 5-wave structure. There's a lot of red flags. A lot of red flags, so you just don't consider it. 3-wave move down here. This looks more 5-wavy. You've got overlap. Expanding diagonals are extremely rare. And your wave 5 already as an invalidation is, you know, is shorter than your wave 3. So it's just, it's not a leading move. It is a corrective structure. This does not mean that you cannot drop down below 100K. Absolutely. Okay, but this is why we're going to go through the next step here, which is understanding this bounce over here. This bounce over here almost hit the 0.88 Fibonacci, right? And it got a huge, massive rally. I could not deny this is a 3-waver. This is a 3-wave move up, right? It's a corrective wave. So you might think that's perfect, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. That's it, guys. 1, 2, and now we're breaking down in a 3rd wave. And I think this is a low probability based on what I explained here from this wave 1, right? From this main, you know, 5-wave structure. So you know, you need to consider, all right, if this were to be a bearish impulsive move down, as explained, which is not possible, we have too many red flags. You know, with the expanding move, you know, there's just not a, it's not a possibility at the moment. A double zigzag is something that could happen. However, okay, so we're not considering here a massive breakdown, right? This right over here, boom, boom, boom. Wave 1, wave 2, we are developing the wave 3 at the moment, right? And we just get continuation. We get to sub 90K or very far away levels, right? Is not something that I'm looking at and giving this very low probability, very, very low probability, just because this cannot be counted properly as a successful 5-wave structure, leading move to the downside. So when we do take a look at the other bearish case scenarios, I'm thinking double zigzag. I'm thinking a double zigzag, right? Where you have your W, X, and Y to the downside. However, it is very rare to see a X wave get all the way up almost to the 0.88 Fibonacci, 7.8 Fibonacci, 0.88 to form a double zigzag. Very, very rare. Very, very rare. So you know that this has low probability to form a double zigzag. When you form a double zigzag, you want to stay below the 7 Fibonacci, right? The 70% of the drop, right? 61865 as a max zone for a double zigzag, okay? The moment you start crossing 70% Fibonacci and get to 7.8 or 0.88, it really decreases the probabilities of forming a double zigzag here to the downside. So you already think, well, there's low probability in that scenario, but that would be the bearish case scenario. That would be the bearish one. It is a double zigzag, okay? But as we did hit the 0.88 Fibonacci, it decreases the probability, okay? So yeah, this scenario would bring the price down to the mid 90K levels potentially. Common scenarios, common levels, okay, is the 0.618 to the 1236, which is sitting at 96.6K. So yeah, if this were to be a double zigzag scenario, then you know this is your common area. So the worst case scenario is getting to 96K zone, which I would be very, very bullish on. You know, I would be very interested in a long position down here. If we were to get down there, just realizing that, you know, we're still looking at a corrective structure. Okay, so this would be an epic swing long in zone. You're also coming to this order block on the higher time frame. This area, if we were to manage to come down to 96, 97k, I would be very, very interested in a long position. This would be a swing long position. I'm not too sure if we are going to come down there before hitting all-time high. But it's just a zone that I would really consider here. Okay, because we would be looking at this as a corrective move. And the scenario would be a double zigzag, which does have low probability anyway, based on the massive bounce that we had on the X wave. Double zigzags, you want them to hit the 50% Fibonacci or the golden pocket from the drop of your W, but not almost hit the 0.88. And this obviously increases the probability of a sideways corrective structure. So yeah, this is why I think we could be ranging still here. We could be ranging for the next coming days. Okay, today we did get that little drop, of course, from the pump that we had throughout the weekend. But sideways momentum still looks highly likely for the moment, even though I have to say, yeah, the double zigzag is possible. It just has lower probabilities just because it is rare to form a double zigzag when your X gets to the 7/8 Fibonacci, right, or the 0.88 almost. It is very, very rare to see a sharp move down after a significant bounce. So yeah, not leaning too much on this scenario and leaning on the sideways corrective structure looks more probable. So let's go right away through yeah, that is the bearish case, guys. It would still be bullish. It would still be a bullish scenario, and I would be very interested in longs when we come to this order block right over here, right? The next range. That is where I would be very interested in looking for long positions. If we were to form that double zigzag, even though it has lower probability, but I would still consider a corrective structure to then finally get up to all-time high at some point. That's if we get down there. I think we probably won't get down there before getting to all-time highs or getting close to all-time highs. Okay, so I want to explain the other scenarios because I am interested in shorts, guys. Okay, I am interested in shorts, especially if we do get up to this zone. So I need to go a little bit in detail on how the price could develop and where I'm interested in my next trading setup. Okay, and I'm very boring right now with trading, guys. I'm very, very boring. I sold some Bitcoin, and I just want to get into some more chilled, kind of swing trade positions, and that's my main goal right now, just to get into chilled positions that might take a few days or maybe 1 to 2 weeks on average. I won't get into positions that last months, mainly in between 3-4 days and maybe a week or two, like this one right over here, from that low, and then the long position from Friday, which did take some profit but still have a significant chunk open. Might be saved, might not get stopped out if we do hold this zone. So let's just go again in detail on how the price could develop based on the new information that we do have. And triangle is one of them. A triangle is one of them, right? A, B, C, right over here. You do have a 5-wave move, potentially on an expanding diagonal right over here on your wave W, on your wave C. You got a 3-wave move to the upside. You got it also, for me, this is 3 wavy and this is 3 wavy. So for the moment, it's looking great for all of this. What you want to see inside of your wave X and your wave W of a potential triangle is developed by 3-wave structures. It's a development of 3-wave structures. So we still have, I would say, 1 to 2 days to be confident on this, right? Price could nuke from here. I understand that. But if we do get that bounce from this zone without claiming this low, this would be your invalidation. You don't want to get below this low. This is why this area on a swing failure pattern becomes very interesting. Very, very interesting. I think we could get a pretty significant bounce here of a few $1,000s, because this is your invalidation for this scenario. And we do have a flat scenario that I want to explain that should also not claim this low before claiming potentially 110K-ish. These highs, or get very close to them. This is why this long is very attractive for me at the moment. I want to long the pullbacks, guys. Okay, do you think I'm not scared? These are the two longs. If we move down here, I understand that this is an interesting zone to long. You don't get scared here. This is the moment you want to long. This is the moment you want to short, right? Yesterday, 108K to 109K. On the video update, well, 2 days ago I think this was, or yesterday morning, I'm very much aware of the price coming down. You know, this is literally what it did. You want to try and maybe get into the short. I took profits here from the longs. Didn't like the short too much, but yeah, you're looking for shorts on the pumps and you're looking for longs on the lows. So I mean, this zone does become interesting for a long, I have to say. Preferably, it would be nice for that sweep of the higher lows of the weekend. I mean, that would be a great swing failure pattern. This would be a great swing failure pattern. Will it succeed or not? We don't know, but it does give you the potential for a long. Will it break down? It might. It might, but this is why this is your guideline, right? This zone is your guideline. If you stay beneath this low, you're not interested in a long. It's only on the recovery. You want to get into the recovery, not onto the drop, okay? You want to get into the bounce. You want to get into the bounce. That's where you get in. You want to get in on the stop, on the bounce. That's what you get in, not on the falling knife. When you're bouncing, then you get in. So yeah, this swing failure pattern level does become interesting. I do like it. And that comes with the general idea of the triangle. That was talked about. You know, this is actually coming down to sweep up the lows. Point of control, 104K zone, which we're just a few $100s away from. Well, actually 1,000. So that's the next zone that I'm interested in. I mean, we could bounce from here, but preferably you do actually, because it's a liquidity game. Because it is a liquidity game, you actually prefer getting below higher lows, right? You prefer the price to get above a lower high, right? You want that liquidity grab above a lower high, or below a higher low. That's the moment where it looks interesting, right? So preferably here, understanding that it is a liquidity game, you want to see that, higher low preferably being swept here, right? You claim liquidity, claim some stop losses. There's always liquidity, guys, beneath some higher lows, as you can see here, right? There's a few $100 million actually beneath 100, the higher lows from the weekend, basically, right? 104.5K. There is liquidity there, right? So preferably you like claim that liquidity, and that's when you jump in on the swing failure pattern. Because it is a liquidity game at the end of the day, right? Lower high, liquidity grab, dump. Higher lows. This looks bullish. It's a three-waver. Sweep up all of the higher lows from this zone, and then get the bounce. So the best higher lows that we have are from Saturday and Sunday, right? Saturday and Sunday's higher lows is the best zone that we do have for the moment for that bounce as a day trade. So yeah, let's go with some other scenarios. This could develop in the next coming days, and the moment this looks very bullish, guys, okay, this could break down, or we could get an epic bounce. This is one of the scenarios that could happen, and we need 2 more pivots. We need 2 more pivots for this specific scenario, which is a WXY, okay, sideways corrective move, finishing your Y wave in a triangle. There's 2 more pivots here. there is a higher low pivot needed from this pivot, and there is one more lower high pivot needed from this pivot. And that is to complete the entire waves of the structure of this triangle, right? So this does not mean jump into a massive long right now because a triangle is forming. Absolutely not, right? This is where people will really get confused and saying, you said we were going to form a triangle. And this is why I jumped into a massive long position. Because of your analysis, you're wrong, we're going to go down, right? It is really crucial to finish the triangle. And this is where you can attempt a long position in between the 50% Fibonacci and the 7/8 Fibonacci. Once you have your D wave, this is the drop that you are interested in between these fib levels, and your invalidation is your higher low from your C wave. This is the moment you can attempt this long position, right, to get the all-time highs and potentially break successfully, right? It's one of those longs that you would maintain open. For the moment, this is like this is a higher time frame. We're looking at the range. This is something that, this is how the price could develop, right? A lot of people are like, with short-term analysis, you know, got a bunch of, you know, salty comments. For the moment, it does look like we could be forming this, right? We got the pump yesterday. We rejected from 109. Great. We are back down at 104K. We could be forming this triangle. We're just halfway through, right? We get one more pivot higher low and one more pivot lower high. This is the moment it becomes interesting, guys. You got an invalidation. You don't need to bet the farm. Your stop loss becomes this, you know, below this higher low. If you were to have that triangle, you know that you have high probability in this trading setup, right? And, you know, if you ask me, where do I long? Well, you know your invalidation. We know that your higher low that is formed in this area, if it is going to be formed, is your stop loss. So you have your invalidation. If we enter, you know, where do I enter? As mentioned, 50% to the 7/8 is your most common zone area, most common area, right? Inside of a triangle where you would reject. 7/8 even also very common. So this is your entry zone. You've got a bit of an entry area. It doesn't really matter. And of course, if this were to be a bullish corrective structure, complex sideways corrective structure, if you break out, if this is the pattern, you're breaking out from all-time highs. If this is the correct reading, you know, this will break out through all-time high, right? It will have an attempt in breaking out 112K, 115K, 120K. You don't know. You know, you could be moving up, but all-time high is your target one, really. So it's all about remaining patient to see if this pattern is going to get developed. It might not develop, okay? It's one scenario. It's one of these scenarios that could develop, okay? So that's something that we can take into consideration here. Other scenarios, and I'm going to go through the comment section here, guys, that we have a few scenarios, right? That scenario, the long setup has been explained. We need another higher low, we need another lower high, and from the next pivot, okay, if it is going to be formed, to the next lower high is where you get your fib levels. 50% to 7/8 to then get that movement up. Triangle structure. And it's a bullish triangle because you're forming a corrective range. I mean, and your invalidation is that higher low. So regardless, you should manage risk. Nobody's getting wrecked here. Unless you're trading irresponsibly, right? You don't want to trade irresponsibly, guys. We're managing risk on these scenarios. You bet 1%, 2%, 3%. My 1% might be not the same as your 1%, right? but you know, this is how we build up, right? I know a lot of people that have $1,000 account or $2,000. They're going to go with 500 or 1,000. They'll bet the farm, they'll bet their account and burn it, which is very, very common when you have small accounts. I do get it, but you want to try and be, you know, consistent and small little trades, right? And build up a good profit at the end of the year. 50% profits, 100% profits, right? 10% at the end of the month. That's what you're looking for realistically, right? Whoever wants to double, triple the account in a month, you know, you're going to be taking some serious risks, and there is a higher probability in you losing, right? Awesome explanation. I really appreciate that so much. Thank you, Andy. You are amazing. Thank you very much, 𝗖𝗍𝗿. Much love to you. I'm going to try to go through the comment section here ever so slightly, guys. Mark Dutch, here he is, the man himself. Much love. The absolute legend of moderators is here in the comment section, giving love and power as always. Much love, Mark. You're absolutely awesome. Life are just called 98,000 8-hour downside. We will see. We will see. It is possible there is a bearish case. For the moment, it does not have the highest probability. This is rangy, right? Anybody here, guys, this last 2 weeks, where people are calling for, I'm saying all-time high is going to come at some point. It doesn't mean we could continue ranging. It doesn't mean we could, you know, get lower. But this looks all very corrective, right? A lot of people might misunderstand, thinking that, you know, this pump is already looking for all-time high. No, it's, you know, it's something that I'm expecting in the next coming days or weeks. But yeah, a lot of confusion here, right? You know, a lot of bearishness with this drop, a lot of bullishness with this pump, more bearishness on Friday because of the you know, the complex situation. Hyped up right now because we're going to get the movement up to all-time high. So there's a lot of confusion. This is bearish. Then you get the bounce. This is bullish. You know, there's a lot. It's a range, guys. It's a massive range that's just going to get your head very messy, right? You're going to get extremely confused here. We're dumping, we're pumping, we're dumping, we're pumping, we're dumping. You know, it's just a very, very complex, large range. So let's talk about another scenario here, guys. And I want to try and go through the comment section. So there is that setup. It's a swing trade setup. We need to see the triangle get developed, right? We need another higher low and another lower high. Will it happen? I don't know. If we get this pivot and we get this pivot, I'm interested. I want to be in this move. I want to be in this move if we do have a higher low and a lower high in the next couple of days. So it's a setup. It's a scenario, right? It's a possibility. There are some more setups here, guys. Bear with me. It's how the price could develop, right? If you, you know, maybe you got aggressively into the short scenario here, because we did say yesterday the price could move also like this. Yesterday, we fake out from 108K, right? And then we get the movement down to 104K, 105K zone to form this triangle. Based on the video from yesterday morning, right? You know, maybe you say, well, this is a scenario, so I'm interested in the short. I'll put stop loss at 110K. I'm entering at 108, 109 in between that zone. And I'm targeting here 105, 104K area. Just put a stop loss. If, you know, a triangle could get developed here. If you want to short this pump based on, you know, the explanation of yesterday's video, you just need to manage risk. You know, you got a movement of a few $1,000s to the downside. I'll just put $1,000 stop loss, 1,500, 110K above these lower highs. Right? Just realizing on one of the scenarios that could develop based on the pump that we were having yesterday, which did get rejected, and back down we are here at 105, 405K area, right? So, let's talk about, the other development here that could be approaching on the price of Bitcoin. So an SFP for a day trade scalp here, I think is an option. I don't want to short down here, guys, regardless if it breaks down or not. For me, it's just not a good level to short. Chasing the drop, you either short here or you short the lower high. But shorting down here for me is just really not an option. I'm so aware of the bounce and the SFP that this is not a shorting zone. I'd rather look for longs. So other scenarios that could develop, and much love to everybody. Andy loves lifer, especially when Sam tells him to stop the Fibonacci nonsense and start using MAs instead. Yeah, very true, my man. Very true. Yeah, it's interesting how he trades. Okay, interesting how he trades. He does live scalping and day trading, mainly long positions. I know he does look for longs a lot, mainly. But I just don't understand. I know he manages risk. I don't know. I just don't get how he trades based on the moving averages. One of the few honest traders on YouTube. I appreciate your time, Andy. Help people for free. That's very generous. Milan, much love to you. That's right, CP, but only the quality channels, of course. Mark Dutch, the legend. He is moderator only on the quality channels, right? Jorge, Andy, can we quickly check gold very locally, like 5 minutes time frame? Thanks, mate. I think there's a perfect example of an SFP. You matter, man. You matter, man. Keep it up. Outstanding content. Thank you very much, Jorge. Let's take a look at gold. I don't want to really... I mean, we're in the middle of Bitcoin still, guys. As you can see, it does take time. Yeah, maybe this being an SFP. Yeah, for sure. It is downtrending. It is downtrending. But yeah, you're kind of sweeping the lows here. Yeah, this is a kind of an SFP. You want to consider where you're coming from as well. You've got a bounce here, so sometimes trading can be very, very basic and easy, right? You got resistance support levels, highs and lows. You got higher lows right there. An SFP, meh. It is downtrending. It is downtrending here. So it might SFP and then get another movement down, right? Like this one right over here. This SFP, but it formed a lower high because you're downtrending, right? So it depends on your trading style. Anyway, you would have to you have to do the analysis here on gold. Anyway, let's quickly flip to Bitcoin because we haven't finished. We have more scenarios on how the price could develop here in the next couple of days. We got already one trading setup based on how the price action could move. We do have another scenario here, which is this one right over here. Okay, there is a 3-wave structure in your wave W. As mentioned at the beginning, this does not count properly as a 5-wave move, leading move, right? It doesn't count properly, guys. We need to get correctives, structures inside of here because, as mentioned, there's too many red flags for this to be an impulse, right? Or a leading move in a 5-wave structure. So let's go right away through this other scenario, which is a wave X here in a zigzag, right? You got your W, X, and now you could form a possible flat instead of a triangle. This is the kind of movement that won't be easy. It will not be easy. For the moment, you haven't hit the minimum target for your flat from this pivot high to the pivot low, which is hitting at least the 0.9 Fibonacci, right? Just getting above the 0.88 Fibonacci retracement is your minimum target to consider a possible flat here. And then you're looking for the price to move up. So could we still be developing the B wave, right, of your flat, right? This is your A wave. You still need to form your B wave, and then you form your C wave, taking out the low or not to form your flat or running flat, and then get the movement up. This is very, very complex. people could get extremely confused. But I would be interested actually in speculating on a short position, and I'll explain why here, guys. This is when you come to the conclusion of, if the price moves up to take out the highs of the 10th of June, this is an epic swing failure pattern. If the price, moves up from here and creates that swing failure pattern, it's a easy trade, stop loss above the high, and you're actually looking for the lows to be claimed or get very close to the lows, right? Because you could form a running flat. And the main reason why this is a very, very interesting short position, if the price moves up from this area, say that we sweep up the lows or we don't sweep up the lows, it doesn't matter. This is not an impulse. This movement is not an impulsive move. It's a three-wave structure. And this zone has been packed with three-wave structures, guys. Packed up, down, this down also. I see it more as a three-wave structure. You have your first three-wave structure to the upside, which could develop a double zigzag scenario. It is possible. I mean, if we were to come up like this out of nowhere, it's probably low probability at this point. Also, if we consider this B wave being a double zigzag, you have hit the 7/8 Fibonacci, which is already decreasing the probabilities of a double zigzag here. Okay, that's the thing. If you cross the 7 Fibonacci, a double zigzag is lower in probability. So, could it happen or not? I don't know. But if we do move up from here, we do bounce. We formed a zigzag move up, a zigzag down, and now we form, suddenly in between today and tomorrow, a zigzag to the upside. If we move like this, just like we moved like this with this drop down, guys, I told you this for me counts much better as a double zigzag. I got ready for the long, joined the long position here on the recovery. If we were to move up like this, I do not know, guys, if we're going to move up like this, I would really consider an ABC flat, because the movement up will not be part of an impulse from the lows of Friday. And I would expect a rejection. This would be a beautiful swing failure pattern from these lower highs. You miss all-time high by $1,000 or a few hundred, and then you start dropping aggressively. I see a very, very good short setup only if we swing failure pattern. I would only short if we get acceptance back beneath the lows. And that's where we have quite a lot of liquidity. Above 111K. There's a lot of liquidity up there. So that's there's definitely a scenario that I would be very, very interested in. Sweep up the liquidity. I understand that from the lows, this is not impulsive. It wouldn't be an impulsive move up. So I would be very, very much ready for a short. So in a nutshell, swing failure pattern from the highs at 110.7 is a short trading setup. And a swing failure pattern from the higher lows, which we're very close, guys. If we do get it, I'm already in a couple of longs. I would, this would be a very interesting long position. We're coming down to that level. Still very slow. So if we do sweep up the higher lows of Saturday and Sunday, I do see a possibility of a nice swing failure pattern for a nice intraday bounce, guys. Shorts, I don't want to short down here. Shorts should have been taken on the highs or the lower highs. It's more interesting and attractive to look for a long right now. So swing failure pattern would be the option here. So we are coming down here. Let's see if we do get another drop of $600-700 to sweep up those lows. It's an interesting SFP. So a few trading levels. We've got this one that might happen now on stream. That is if we do get acceptance. If we break down, guys, beneath this low, you know, there's just no long to be taken. You need to be very, very strict with the levels, with the guidance. This is your guidance. You get beneath it, you don't do anything. Let's go right away through the some other scenarios, which there is another triangle setup. There is another triangle setup. I don't like this one too much, but it is a possibility where you have your 3-wave structure here in your W, your X wave, which is very shallow right now compared to your W, and then you have a running triangle here, which would be finishing. If this were to be the correct scenario. I know a lot of people might think, you know, you're smoking crack here. This ain't gonna happen. But yeah, higher lows here become the most interesting level to long here. 104.3, 104.5. Let's see if we do get that swing failure pattern. We might hit those levels on stream. It becomes the most interesting long position. Obviously, this would be the most bullish case scenario. You know what would be interesting about this? To see that if it is going to be a valid scenario, and you say that we do get an SFP from here, and you missed getting into the long, if this were to be the correct corrective structure, right, which I think, you know, Y is getting extremely long compared to, well, not massively, but yeah, not that too long in timing. It would still be very much valid. But if you were to miss, you know, how would I recognize that this could be the end of this pattern? Well, only if you move here, you find support and you move up in a 5-wave structure. If you move up here, right, in a nice impulsive move, you form 5 waves and you correct down, you could be really, really, you know, saying, okay, this is bullish. You know, this is a higher low. We moved up impulsively. Regardless if the price is going to break out successfully or not, I'm interested in being in this wave. Because remember, you know, the flat scenario is an option still. You might claim the highs and then move down. But this would be an interesting long. Look for the retracement if you form a 5-wave structure to the upside here on the 15-minute time frame, right? Corrective move, 50% to the 7/8 Fibonacci would be your zone of interest. And that would be the area, if we have a 5-wave structure to the upside, that I would be interested in the long position. Okay, very important to detect that 5-wave structure, guys. It's very, very important to be confident for that long position. Okay, getting very close to those higher lows. Would be nice to get that sweep of liquidity now that we are so close. And let's see if we do manage to maintain above those lows for a few minutes, because it might get a significant bounce. Okay, so a little bit of the few scenarios. You know, the bearish case scenario has been explained also at the beginning of the stream, which I think has a lower probability. It is a double zigzag down. We just retraced too much here to form that double zigzag. So I think, you know, this has low probability for the moment, guys. We're still inside of the range. We got a few drops. We got a few pumps, drops and pumps. We are still inside of the range. There's no breakdown. There's no breakup. You know, just taking into consideration how the price could develop in the next coming days, so you are ready. Let's go through the comment section and say hello to the beautiful community, guys. Quick reminder here, Phemex right now has a great bonus, guys. Take advantage because the reward is in between $100 and $650 for those signups, guys. Make sure to take advantage of Phemex. Phemex is a great platform, okay? You have the link down below. It's the 5th link down below in the description. You can claim in between $100 and $650, all right, on the sign up, guys, on Phemex, okay? make sure to read the conditions here on the registration. Okay, rewards from $100 to $650 on Phemex. Trade Bitcoin and trade multiple altcoins right over there. So Bitcoin getting the drop, continuing the drop, the continuation to the downside. It's really just grinding down here. Really just grinding down. But you know what is interesting about this movement down? Which, I mean, this is really lower time frame, legends. This movement down that we had from yesterday's highs or early this morning highs, I mean, there can be some other scenarios here, I have to say. There could be other scenarios that could develop. I don't like them very much, but we need to talk about them, okay? Give me a sec here. I'll put the music on. People might not care. Other scenarios. Well, yeah, contracting diagonal would not make sense to be developed here, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, it wouldn't make too much sense. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense this. Because contracting diagonals could develop in 3-wave, 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 3-wave. However, could it be a running flat situation? And you form a contracting diagonal here. I mean, you did on some exchanges you did hit the 0.9. I mean, on some exchanges you did hit the target here of the flat, the minimum target for a flat. On Bybit you did not hit the 0.9, but on some exchanges such as Binance and Coinbase, the 0.9 Fibonacci was hit, which is your minimum target for the flat. And eventually your C wave of a flat, you got your 3-wave structure here, 3-wave structure to the upside, and then this basically continues the range in a contracting diagonal. It is an option. Once we have the movement down, movement up, we will consider it, right? If we move down, claim the lows of Friday and get a bounce, we would start talking about this. For a running triangle, it's not something that I want to talk about right now when we have many other scenarios that have higher probability. Okay, so yeah, let's go through the comment section and say hello to the beautiful community. Let's see how many likes we do have, guys. Let's try and get to 300 likes. Make sure to destroy that like button, guys, on your way in. Would be absolutely awesome, right? People that are leaving or people that are joining. You know, for the moment, me preferably for a scalp, we need to sweep these higher lows, guys. You know, if we bounce from here, then it's like, so be it. But it would be nice to remain patient to sweep the higher lows of the weekend for a long, right? If it bounces from here, then I have to say, so be it. It can bounce. This movement down, like mentioned, you know, you only need to take a look at this movement, guys. This movement down, very 3-wavy. Very 3-wavy, guys. You could arguably discuss that you can go to the 1 minute or 15-second chart and say there is a 5-wave move from this high, from the wick high double top yesterday. Yeah, it's just a very 3-wave move. It's a very 3-wave. Of course, that is 3 waves. We consider them part of a corrective structure. I mean, could you say, hey, you got a small little wave 2 here. Look at the small little consolidation. I mean, this is why going through lower time frames, 1 minute Elliott wave analysis is pretty much, you know, not worth it. At least the 5-minute time frame, at least the 5 minutes, 15-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute. That's, you know, what I like to take a look at, the waves. going below 5 minutes or 1 minute, you know, you're going to go absolutely crazy. But I don't see a major bounce here. I don't see a major consolidation. This is pretty much straightforward. And, you know, you can really confirm that once you get to the 5 minute, you know, or the 15 minute, which this leg down looks very three wavy. So there is a situation here. 3-wave move down. If this is going to be an impulse, wave 3, right? You want to see continuation, a bit more aggressive than your wave 1, and you want to see a bounce, wave 4, and then claim the lows. That is a proper impulse, right? But when you have this 3-wave move down and this 3-wave move up, right? You know, overlapping your wave 1, this would be your wave 1, right? So you're overlapping. it all could be part of another corrective move. So you need to start thinking of double zigzag, zigzag down, zigzag up. This is really grinding down, so it's just it's a little bit of a big fat mess. But looking at the extensions of this movement, it would make sense to actually sweep up those lows. You got 100 and, you know, this is a common double zigzag target, guys. 1.236, which is actually sweeping up the lows of the weekend. And this is this extension. That is this extension right over here. And you have a 3-wave move up on the first leg down. I mean, no financial advice, but I'm telling you, this zone does look very attractive for a bounce. Preferably, we do sweep up the lows. That would be, you know, I'm going to remain patient. Unless you get a 5-wave move up here and then a correction, then you could be looking for this leg up, right, on the correction. But look at the 1.236, guys, where it is. Higher lows of the weekend. 1.236. And I can give you multiple examples, guys, here of this, you know, zigzag, double zigzag target zones. We did have one right over here somewhere, hitting the 1.236 extension. I think it's this one right over here, the drop, right? Let's see. I think it's this one that does actually, right? At the beginning of the stream, I did explain this movement to the downside. 3-wave move down, 3-wave move up, 3-wave move down. This is what I am considering of this move. 3-wave move down, zigzag up, zigzag down. And when you take a look at your fib extension from the start of this movement to this low, finishing the 3-wave move to the downside, to the 3-wave move to the upside, 1.2361382. You could arguably discuss, yeah, that 1.2361382, right, did get the bounce. 1.2361382 is just sitting at the lows. So yeah, it could be a nice little scalp SFP, guys. Let's see if we do get that swing failure pattern now in the next coming minutes. But yeah, that was just a clear example, right, of a 3-wave structure. Let's see. We're gonna hit those lows. I am gonna set the alerts right now at the lows. Preferably, I want to see the lows being swept. And let's see if we do get that reaction bounce. Let's go right away through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. Alex, where's Alex? Here in the comment section. Is that Alex O? Mark Dutch giving the love and support and power here for the community. Bearish until Powell's speech. Yeah, we do have some news this week. We do have retail sales. We did have some retail sales coming lower than expected. I think this is making that a little bit of bearishness, right? I'm not sure if Nasdaq is getting a movement down, but retail sales came lower than expected. I mean, Nasdaq is doing pretty okay. Not much going on here on Nasdaq. It's actually pumping throughout the day. But yeah, retail sales did come out lower than expected, meaning, slower economy. Tomorrow's a big day. Interest rate decision. FOMC economic projections, Fed press conference. I will go live tomorrow also throughout all of this nonsense and see that volatility, what's going on. So yeah, tomorrow we have a big day, guys. Tomorrow that we should be seeing some volatility, interest rate decision and FOMC economic projections. Something, yeah, we should be probably getting some decent movements tomorrow. Love playing Monday range. I mean, today in the Legends training community on Discord, guys, the Legends, the coaches were looking for a good short setup here. A decent one, 3-wave move to the upside. They were looking for a swing failure pattern here at this zone, also with a golden pocket. We front run that level. We did front run the level, but it was a good short, looking for the lows to be claimed. You could have front run I mean, this is the thing, right? You're looking for a perfect level for a short. Sometimes you just need to let it go. But yeah, this was a short trade setup that was provided today in the Discord. You know, really looking for the lows here to be claimed. So it did roll over. It just slightly front runned, you know. It got to the order block, right? This is sometimes you just need to think order block. I'm shorting at the order block, right? Because sometimes we focus on SFPs too aggressively and the price might just get to the order block in the middle and then reverse. The problem is you need to give your stop loss a little bit of room just in case you do claim the lower highs here and you do actually roll over. I mean, this was a setup that was mentioned today in the Discord, guys, in the Legends trading community. You know, that's where we post every single day, looking for different scenarios. We're giving the education on the possible setups. You do have the modules, Elliott wave theory, how to get to the confluence levels, point of controls, daily levels, weekly levels, okay, harmonics. You have all sorts, okay. There's over 8 hours on modules to learn how to trade. You get access to the Discord where there's updates every single day and advanced setups as well, okay. You do have the 5th link down below, guys, if you want to join the Legends trading community on Discord. Anybody that wants to take their trading experience to the next level. The poll is a 50-50, Andy. It is. Most of my polls on bullish and bearish, you got a lot of people. Yeah, it's a 50-50. Absolutely crazy. Over 800 votes here. Bearish, we go sub 100k. 50% say yes, we go down. 50% say bullish, we go to all-time high soon. 50-50, guys. It's a battle between bulls and bears. It cannot get more 50-50 than that. It is a 50-50. 400 bulls and 400 bears. And this is our next interesting level. Muy interesante. Muy interesante for a long position here. Let's see if we do get that swing failure pattern from the lows. Going to remain patient. Shorting here or long in here is, yeah, pretty random. I'm not going to do that. If it bounces, so be it. If it breaks down, so be it. Just going to wait for the reaction at that zone, because this is where we do have, well, the point of control really technically has not been broken because it is at slightly lower levels. Yeah, it is. The point of control of the range is below the lows of the weekend. So yeah, 104k zone is going to be, yeah, 104k area could be the level where the bounce sweep up that liquidity that we do have there. I'm leaning this on not being an impulsive move down. It's still part of the range. So if you did not long here or long here and you did not short here, you know, you really want to try and long the lows of the range or short the highs of the range, right? So it's really just a range day trade environment here that you want to get in longs at the lows and short at the highs, because there is no breakout, right? People have been calling for breakouts for the last 10 days and it's been very, very boring, very rangy, right? So, you know, we need to trade the range because we're still inside of the range. It was going to break out at some point, but till it doesn't, we're interested in shorting the highs and longing the lows. Where we are at the moment, we're getting close to very strong support. We want to try and attempt to long the lows, okay? So let's see. Our first level of guidance are the higher lows of the weekend. That's the first level of guidance that we do have from the weekend. Boop, claim it, get back above. That's the moment we're interested in the long. Decent bounce. Breakdown, not interested. If we break down, not interested in this specific trade setup. Then we possibly look for these lows to be claimed. But if we reclaim the lows of the weekend, I'm interested in that bounce. Could be a bounce of $1,000. It could be a bounce of 2,000. So let's see. We're just very, very close. Get on with it, Bitcoin. Get that movement down. Claim those lows of the weekend. It looks like it's going to happen right now in the next coming minutes. I do have the alert set. Let's see if we do get that SFP, guys. A hedge short now, a good idea. You want to try and get in at highest level possible. I understood today that a 3-wave structure here is what we're looking at least, right? From this level, I know that we could move in a 3-wave move up. Today I got into a very small one, guys. This was a personal short, just a hedge against the longs. It's actually a smaller position. It's just one that I got in, smaller position, just to protect the scenario. But the main reason of this short is understanding that we could move in a 3-wave structure to the downside, right? You got the first leg down and you got the bounce, right? This is what I like to explain many times. The price moves like this, guys. Boom, 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 or boom, 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 right? You want to be in this wave here. This is the wave that we try to get into. You try and get into this wave, which obviously right now is this one. So shorting now here when we're getting to some support and sweeping up some lows and the point of control is not the best idea, I have to say. Can it break down? Absolutely. But it's not a level that I would want to short. You want to try and get into the lower high here, somewhere close, either at the highs or on the movement down, but not when you've had a pretty decent wave here on your third wave, because it could be the low, and you could bounce significantly from this level. So for me anyway, it's a bad idea for a short. That's my personal opinion, right? Based on what I explained, right? Would it be a good idea to long here when you had the bounce, a higher low, and a move up? You're like, no. We're coming into resistance. There are some bearish case scenarios, triangle, right? Short-term bearish case scenarios. It's just not a good idea to short. So to long, sorry, here, right? The same theory comes here. We're coming close to the point of control of the range, higher lows of the weekend that could SFP, and you move down already in a 3-wave structure. It's not a great long. Of course we could break down, but we could also bounce pretty nicely here, a few $1,000s. For me, it's not a good, the problem is your stop loss, right? Are you going to be defensive? Where are you going to put your stop loss? The problem here of shorting, where are you targeting? Because if you SFP, then eventually you're stuck with this short. And if you don't have a stop loss, well, then, you're going to be holding a short at the lows, where there's big support and that you could get a significant bounce, right? It could bounce. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to claim those higher lows of the weekend. It's just so boring, so boring. It's moving down very, very slowly. Let's see, it's going to happen now in the next coming minutes. So let's see if we do create that swing failure pattern, or we break through aggressively, right? Let's see. It is an SFP level. I would be targeting at least the 50% Fibonacci of the drop. Let's see if we do SFP, but the trading idea, stop beneath the low of the SFP, if it does swing failure pattern. It is a very quick execution. Once you get above, you probably have a few minutes, but I would be targeting, yeah, at least these lower highs that we just formed. So let's see. We need the swing failure pattern, right? If you break down, then you just let the price go. There's the alert. We're hitting the first higher low of Sunday. And now we got the next higher low of Saturday, which would be ideal to claim. We are sweeping up that liquidity already. So we got a liquidity fetch here. We are sweeping up that liquidity. Yeah, just under 104k. SFP could be the deal here. Nasdaq is not doing much. There we go. We're getting the drop. And this could bounce more eventually. But this is the kind of trade that if you bounce, you take some profits, you protect. Let's see if we do get that wick beneath that higher low. We do have some liquidity left. Yeah, it would be nice to actually get a little bit more of a dip. A few $100 beneath that low. And then SFP, if we SFP, snipe a long trade. Right, nobody wants to long these dips, guys. Nobody wants to long when the price is moving down so aggressively, but it is the moment. Right, now we got a level as guidance. Let's see if that level of guidance is respected, and if it's not respected and it breaks down, you don't do anything, right? You do not execute this trade, and you're always managing risk. Let's go through the comment section. I got another alert here beneath that higher low of Saturday. Let's see. If that one is hit. And let's go through the comment section. I said bearish, but only wick below 100k before flying to all-time high. Got a 50-50 here, guys. Look at this. Look at the poll. Absolute insanity. A lot of people. Maybe we are in an impulse 5-wave move and we are in the 3rd wave now. The thing about this 5-wave move to the downside, yes, 1, 2, 3. I mean, this first wave 1 does look very 3-wavy, I have to say. We did go through the lower time frame, but it's not really worth it on such a lower time frame. You just need to consider that, yeah, mate, this might be a wave 1, wave 2. You're developing your wave 3 now. It is definitely possible. It is definitely possible. Okay, so, but also like as mentioned, we could be developing the triangle. This one right over here. Hang on a minute. Why do I have this? Yeah. So eventually this low cannot be claimed if you're forming a triangle. Right, this is the zone that should bounce. Few possibilities here, few possibilities. Let's just sweep those lows of the weekend and get on with it. I'm probably going to get stopped out from the rest of the position here. Oh, that's still relatively close. Still far away. It might save up. It might be saved. I did take profits from this long yesterday. Yesterday I did mention to the Telegram that I was taking over 50% profits of this long trade setup in the signals channel. This was just yesterday when we were hitting 108k zone. when we were hitting 108k zone, going to scratch 50% profits here, legends, right? It was early this morning, late last night, if you wish. 108k almost now resistance here, and very much aware that we could get this pullback down. Okay, so yeah, we're just talking about the long setup that I entered on Friday here, and yesterday when we were hitting above 180k, I'm taking profit, guys. I'm very much aware of the price rejecting from this zone, which was very much explained also on yesterday's video, right? This is why this is yesterday rejection from 108, 109k was an option. Today's option right now, and I know a lot of the bears here are going to be like, short now, we're going to break down, or this is actually a level to bounce. Okay, point of control, sweep of the higher lows. We just are about to get there. Yeah, we just are about to sweep those lows. Surprised that NASDAQ is doing okay. NASDAQ is actually doing okay. It's not really doing anything, so I'm a little bit concerned. Bitcoin is dropping. NASDAQ is holding pretty steadily here. So let's see. We're just about to claim those lows. What an interesting... I think we're just really grinding down here. It's really just grinding. Really just rolling over. What a grind. So let's see. I think some buying pressure could enter in this area. This is the area where the buying pressure could kick in. Okay, so let's see how the price develops. Let's go through the comment section. First of all, let's get that like button absolutely destroyed. 300 likes almost. Come on, legends. We can do it. Bearish. We got a little bit more bearish right now. We got a 1% more. It was a 50-50, but we can see the emotions kicking in right now with the drop. The emotions are kicking in, and now the poll is ever so slightly more bearish. People are moving with the price action. Very classic. BTC crying at the moment. Lol. Should I long? Should I go long? If we do swing failure pattern, yeah, I think it's an interesting long. If we do swing failure pattern, this is the moment on the recovery you want to possibly take that chance. If it breaks down, no long. No long. So we need that reclaim of the lows of the weekend of Saturday, right? Get that dip. Boop, boop, boop. We do have the point of control of the entire range. We do have it, guys. It is there. It is there. So let's see how the price does react here. We are claiming those lows. So let's see. Let's go through the comment section. Mark Dutch here is in the comment section, the absolute legend. I'm going to take a quick hike, and let's get that like to at least 350, guys. It will be much appreciated. Thank you very much for joining the stream today. You are absolute legends. Let me just quickly get my my water and take a hike, and let's get that like button, and I'll go through the comment section. Okay. Let's go. Alert set. Moving down. Yeah, it doesn't look like it wants to do much here, legends. What can I say? 7-8 is going to be the touch. 1236 to the 1382. Extension of today's three-wave structure could be the zone. Could be the zone. 1236 to the 1382. Sweeping up the lows of the weekend. Let's see. We might get those balls kicking in right now. It could be the moment that the balls Step in, legends. That could be the moment, guys, that the bulls step in right now and get the bounce. Let's go. Let's go through the comment section and see what the people... We love you, Stefania. Much love to you, Stefania. That was 𝗞𝗍𝗍𝗍. Yeah, I got my dog barking. They want to go for a walk, guys. And I'm here with you, legends, looking at Bitcoin. Andy, could you suggest a good spot entry? Wow. On Bitcoin, you know, I think just buy for the long term. DCA every month, whatever you can. We need to have some Bitcoin, guys. You know, there's more upside potential than downside, right? I've said to many people since 2018, when I was understanding Bitcoin, I bought the Bitcoin standard and understand blockchain technology, to just buy Bitcoin. And back in the day, it was trading between $6,000 and $7,000 when I managed to accumulate my first Bitcoin. You know, it's like, just buy as much as you can. This is going to go to 100K or 1 million in the future, right? Give or take 5-10 years. It doesn't matter. It's such a great investment for the long term. You know, for spot trading, wow. You know, oh my goodness. Yeah, Bitcoin's getting the reaction right there at those levels. Let's go. Oh, yeah, what can I say? You know, when you ask me right now, it's like, yeah, we are at, you know, all-time high. Had an incredible rally throughout the last couple of years. What can I say, right? You're literally buying the highs. You're literally buying the highs here. So, you know, if it does get a corrective move in the next coming months, right? Bear market, it actually moves down to the 50-40K levels. I think 50 to 40K levels is very much the zone, you know, bear market territory. For the cycle, for the bear market, I think getting below 50K is going to be where we go. But that, you know, those will be that zone will be the lows, in my opinion. You know, I would be very interested in buying Bitcoin at 50-40K. That, you know, could be hit next year maybe, or I don't know, in the bear market. That's where I would consider buying on spot. But if you don't have any Bitcoin, you know, you always want to have a bit of Bitcoin, because there's more upside potential than downside potential. I don't know where the low is. I don't know where the high is, but, you know, sky is the limit, right? Sky is the limit in the case of Bitcoin. So, yeah, let's go. It could resist. I'm long. Yeah, it's trying to. It did get a reaction. It's moving down. Yeah, it did not manage to recover from those lows. So it is dumping down right now at the moment. Still has a chance. Still has a chance. I do see this as a crucial zone of support. Hang on a minute. This is Binance chart. We don't want Binance chart. We want Bybit. Yeah, we didn't, you know, this could still hold the range. You got the point of control, higher lows of the weekend. Still looks more corrective, even though the movement down looks aggressive at the moment, guys. But just like this one right over here, and just like this one, they looked very aggressive, but we got an epic bounce. So still looks a-okay. Still looks a-okay. Still looks pretty decent to get the bounce here at the 104K zone. Iran doesn't have a nuke, but BTC does. Very good, Robin. Very true. We are dumping. Took long here. It is a zone to get the bounce, legends. It is the zone to get the bounce. So it is a valid long. What can I say? There we go. Oh, it is actually getting a bounce. It is the zone to get the bounce. Let's go right away. Continue through the Stop loss, please, Andy. I would keep it relatively tightish, depending if you're scalping, if you're day trading, right? What are you using? 3% capital out of 50x leverage. Manage risk. Maybe you're using 10x leverage, right? And you just see the bounce happening in the next coming days. You want to get into a chilled long, and stop loss. Your hard stop loss would be this one here, this pivot low at 102.8k. It depends on what style of trading you are getting into here, but if you're going aggressive, I would be defensive. Stop loss beneath the low, give or take a bit of room. You're happy with a 3-to-1 risk to reward. Give it a bit of room, not always stuck to the bottom, right? Give it a little bit of room. You don't want to have a stop loss stuck to the bottom. Give it a bit of room because of local volatility. Beneath the low, give or take a few $100s, and manage risk here. It is recovering here a little bit, just a little bounce of a few $100s at the moment. It was the level where we were, you could likely see the bulls stepping in here, right? Will they have enough power at the moment to step in? Could we double bottom? That is something that I would be concerned about. It could also double bottom locally. This is the moment that I'm not fearful on getting on a double bottom, because when you start hitting that resistance zone, just like here, and you start consolidating in the reaction. I mean, this was the level of yesterday, saying 108 to 109. If it gets choppy there, you might reject first, and then it might wick above that local high to stop out the long positions, which could be the case in this zone. So it could be a very complex area where you're just going to chop here and another chop, and then you get the bounce. So sometimes the best scenario is to lower risk. This is what I'm doing a lot of the times right now, purely based on my long entries that I got in the last few days, is, lower capital. I'm looking for larger swings, 2-3-to-1 risk to reward, and just go with a less capital, less stressful. I don't care about the choppiness here, stop loss down here, right? And I've just realized the bounce could be greater, right? The bounce could be greater. It might chop. It might bounce, boom, boom, boom. And this is what I'm looking for to happen, right? At some stage. So lower risk, right? Lower the risk on the trade if you want to take it more chilled. And I know a lot of you guys have, you're busy. Everybody has, work, family, meetings, whatever, and don't want to be stuck in front of the chart. This is why I'm transitioning more into chilled setups, right? Lower risk, lower capital, right? I did sell some Bitcoin myself to have more capital in my trading accounts and just get into these, more chilled scenarios, like the long position here, from the lows of 2 weeks ago, right? Which it SFP'd, got the bounce, took some profits. It really depends on your trading style. I've been day trading a lot for the last few years, but now I'm really transitioning into more chilled trading setups, right? Instead of getting the perfect level, the perfect risk to reward, 10-to-1 risk to reward, it's like, yeah, give a bit of room, 2-3-to-1 risk to reward, bit more chilled, and go and take a nap, guys, or go and walk your dogs, right? Like myself, and just give it a bit of room. But this doesn't mean that you need to go all in with 50% of your account, right? Keep it still in between the 1% and 3%, right? Max, depending on your risk appetite. Right, so anyway, let's go right away through the comment section legends. But it is a bouncing level regardless, right? Mark Dutch, my brother, my man. Here it is. Pump it, Bitcoin. Come on, says Jorge. Yeah, it is a bouncing level, guys. It all depends on how much buying pressure we are going to get here. pump song, says Naruto. Yeah, I don't have the pump song. I need Jason Casper to record me the pump song. We can put it on stream here. I will ask him. Give me the pump song so I can have it here for my streams. Only 50% of an account per trade. Rookie numbers. Yeah, no. Then there's me betting my entire net worth, says Ivan. Yeah. Stay cautious, guys. It's all about getting into many trades throughout the weeks. I feel like it's going to dump soon again. Yeah, that feeling is very, very natural when you're dumping, okay? It's very, very natural. It's like this bounce, this dead cat bounce. I longed here. I'm probably got stopped out. Let me just double check. Oh, it's still good. Still in that trade. But I did see this dead cat bounce as a, a possibility of getting a larger move up. Based on this structure, I explained it at the beginning of the stream, guys. This did look very, very corrective. Even though it looks impulsive, of course, you might think this is your fourth wave and it's going to dead cat bounce and you're claiming the lows. But no, based on the analysis of this structure, it made more sense to get the bounce. And kind of the same applies here. Right? Same applies here. Will this be a good one or not? Again, I mean, this is the zone that needs to hold to get that bounce of a couple of $1,000 potentially between today and tomorrow. So, it is the zone. It is the zone to bounce. Will it bounce or not? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. But there's many technical reasons to bounce at this zone. This movement down, I just see it as a three-wave structure, guys. It's a three-wave move down from the highs. Look at this double top as well. You need to consider double tops, double bottoms, right? Because this is very classic. You get shorts entering here. You stop them out and then it moves down, right? You get longs entering here, as I explained. Level to get the bounce. And this is why you can apply this. Just give a bit of room. And what happens is you get the bounce and then you chop out those longs and then you get the bounce, right? You get stopped out as a good retail trader. And then the price moves in the direction that you were looking for, right? So it's very, very common, right? You're going to get the first little bounce, the first little reaction, and smack down, double bottom. You get stopped out and then the price goes in your direction and you're like, this happens a lot, guys. It's a very, very classic thing that happens in trading, right? So yeah, be careful here because it can chop down. I wouldn't mind a re-entry of the trade if you have your stop loss at the lows. It depends, guys. You always need to be inside of that 1 to 3%. Even though your stop loss is beneath the low of the wick, it still has to be in between 1 and 3%. If your stop loss is down here at the lows of Friday, you still need to be inside of the 1-3%. It doesn't matter. You always need to risk the same amounts per trade. Because if you start differing on the amounts, right? You will enter a trade where you risk 5% and another one 1%, and you say, I made more on the trade yesterday than the one today because I risked more yesterday. Well, it shouldn't be like that. You should always risk the same amounts per trade because it's never going to work like that, guys. It's never going to work. If you start risking, in this one I'm going to risk 10% of my account and this one 2%, well, you obviously made more in this one and this one, right? And then say, I'm going to risk 15% on the next trade. Well, if that one gets stopped out, you're going to lose all of your gains from your previous trades, right? So it's just, it doesn't make sense. You always need a risk in between 1 and 3% average, right? Or stick to a percentage, right? Same trades, same trades. The moment you start swinging on, this is bigger, this is smaller, this is bigger, it's not sustainable, right? It's just not sustainable. So yeah, let's go right away through the comment section. Yeah, I'm a bit tired out now, guys. I need to walk my dogs, get ready for dinner and sleep. Nuevo niño membresía, hermanos. There we go. Joe. Hermanos. Pollos hermanos. Mark Dutch. Drop a like. It's better to enter on the higher low. Don't try to catch the bottom. I'd wait for an acceptance back into the value area range. Very true, Mark Dutch. That is also much better. So as we do understand, you know, like Mark Dutch said, catching the lows is only for the brave, right? And only for the people that manage risk. If you don't manage risk, you get wrecked if you try and catch them lows. But as Mark Dutch said, right, just as we understand that the prices move in either 3 waves or 5 waves, we are in a very 3-wavy environment. Wait for the first leg to the upside and the corrective move down. Then this would be the best option to get into this leg, right? Just like today, you know, in the Legends trading community, we were very much aware of another leg down here. However, we front-runned the best level of confluence, but the idea of getting a 3-wave move down, you know, was there. So this could chop here. This could really chop. And this is why catching the lows is dangerous. You're going to get lots of longs getting chopped out. Double bottom, triple bottom, and then you get the rally. And then after the rally, you range. And this is your best option, safer option to get into this leg up. Because you are looking for that 3-wave structure. At least, it might be 5, but at least a 3-wave, right? And you want to get into this wave. So you know, same as this, right? That wave, or today, it was mentioned in the Discord. We just front run the level. You're looking for a 3-wave move down, at least, right? So if you want the safer bet, wait for a nice bounce. Wait for the nice bounce and wait for that rangy structure. 3-wave structure, right? Because this bounce that we had today to the upside, after a little bit more of an aggressive move down, it did bounce in a 3-wave structure, right? Hitting the 50%, right? Fibonacci, almost the golden pocket. This is why we talk about this a lot of the times. I mean, this was very 3-wavy in my opinion. I'm not going to discuss it, but we talk about that many times. You know, instead of trying to catch the lows or the swing failure, because it could chop. You wait for the rally, right? And then the 3-wave structure down, and you're aiming for the 50% to the 7/8 Fibonacci of that pump, right? Between 50% and 7/8 Fibonacci is where you're interested to get into that long. And the same applies to the downside, right? You get the movement down aggressively, and then you wait for the 3 move to the upside in between 50% and the 7/8. In this case, 50% was the one that got the leg down, right? So if you want to be more safer, right? That gives you a safer bet. Wait for the reaction bounce. Wait for the reaction bounce. Instead of trying to catch the low that can be choppy, wait for the bounce and look for the higher low between those fib levels. It's always the best option. It's always the best option. Because the lows, you know, can get choppy. Lots of longs can get wicked out, and you might be one of them, right? So thanks for the stream, Andy. Time to walk the beagle. Yes, sir, my man. Mark Dutch, much love to you, brother. Thanks for joining the stream and giving love and support, legends. Much love to everybody here in the comment section. Guys, remember, if you're not using any of the exchanges, make sure to claim those bonuses, okay? We do have Weeks, we do have Bluffin as well. Great exchanges where you just need an email and a password, and you got the biggest bonuses to claim out there. $500 deposit bonus, okay? Cash back, you get 20% cash back of up to $500 on Bluffin with all of these different perks. Weeks, great alternative as well. 20% deposit cash back, up to $30,000 deposit bonuses, and 25% fee reduction on the second link down below, guys. You got the second and fourth link for Weeks and Bluffin. You just need an email and a password All right, they don't ask for any personal information to sign up to trade Bitcoin and many different altcoins. Legends, thank you very much for the stream. Let's see if we do hold this area on Bitcoin. I do think so. It is very, very likely based on the analysis. We shall see tomorrow, legends. Much love to everybody. Trade safe. Thank you very much for joining, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, you got the Telegram community. Also, if you want to join, based on my setups on Bitcoin, which are very boring, they're mainly swing trading scenarios, but you will get those updates in the Telegram, legends. Link down below. Thank you. Have a great night. See you in the next one.